This is the AM Hookah Podcast.
Here's your host, Manager.
I need you to do it again because it
Yo, man, these are all kinds of voices you missed out on.
boy.
Hey, you.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Time to be bad. What is up, midnight tokers, afternoon hailers, and AM hookah smokers?
This is the AM Hookah Podcast.
This is the AM Hookah Podcast. What's up, midnight tokers, afternoon hailers, and AM hookah smokers? This is the AM Hookah Podcast.
Here's your host, Matt and Adrian.
This is the AM Hookah Podcast.
Here's your host, Manager.
I need you to do it again because it
Yo, man, these
fucked
are
up.
all kinds of voices you missed out on.
Oh boy.
Hey, you.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Time to be bad. What is up, midnight tokers, afternoon hailers, and AM hookah smokers?
This is the AM Hookah Podcast.
This is the AM Hookah Podcast. What's up, midnight tokers, afternoon hailers, and AM hookah smokers? This is the AM Hookah Podcast.
Here's your host, Matt and Adrian.
This is the AM Hookah Podcast.
Here's your host, Manager.
What is up, Midnight Tokers, Afternoon Inhalers, and AM Hookah Smokers? This is the AM Hookah Podcast with me, your host, just trying to get by as per usual. Joined with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Adrian. How are you doing, my friend?
What's going on, man? It's pretty pumped to be sitting here with Mr. Nino. Maybe you should talk to him instead of me, Matt.
And yes, our very special guest. I make it a rule of thumb to always talk to my co-host before our special guest for two reasons.
sweet.
For two reasons, because you're my co-host and here all the time. And then I want to give a very special welcome and introduction to the man, the myth, the legend, the one from Mason Shishaware, the crazy mind behind the Grand Onyx, the regular Onyx, and the Helix, and so many other products that we'll be touching on today as well. I'm not going to pronounce your last name, so I'm not even going to try it. But Nino from Mason Shishaware is here with us. How are you doing, Nino?
It's a great day. It's Mason Monday. I'm here enjoying my hookah, and I'm super excited to sit down with you guys and just hear what the people have to say. Just have a good smoke and just be a part of this awesome thing that you guys are doing.
Well, we appreciate you joining us so very much. We already have some people joining us in the chat room as we usually do, and I just want to give a big shout out to the original superfan. Akeem Young is here as always. Paul is here as well. What's up, Paul? Junior is here, and then also Etch Games is here as well. We are super excited for the fan interaction that we're going to be having on this. We were going to be expecting a lot of conversation, questions, things to come from the chat room, obviously. So if you're there, be thinking of stuff to be asking right away. We're going to go through the show as we normally do, Nino. I know you've seen a couple of episodes of the Pipeline AM Hookah Podcast, and we just want to have a good time. We just want to...
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we're going to start off as we normally do with what we are smoking. So I'm going to go ahead and defer to my co-host and ask him, Adrian, I see that you're not having the Adrianator, but what are you smoking today, my friend?
Yeah, this isn't the Adrianator, thanks. Who did that? Was that Tristan?
No, it
I've
was-
got the Starbucks Atlantis 1.0 short, not the chiller variation with this matching base. D-hose with the silicone soft touch handle. I'm not using a Mason Bowl today because I'm not a Mason Bowl owner. However, I am smoking with a HJ Y-Gauge Harmony. Kind of bummed out because I didn't clean out my brand new HJ Retro Harmony, which I'm pretty big fan of. And 3 Narine cubes on top. More about those later.
More about those to come.
Oh
Very
yeah,
nice.
the Triforce is the tobacco.
There you go.
Alfaka Triforce.
Alfaka
That's the
Triforce.
important
Now, Nino, do you know what the Triforce is from Alfaka?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes, it's a staple.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So you're a bit of an old school smoker then. We'll get into the amount of time that you've been smoking as well. But in case anybody in the chat doesn't know what the Triforce is, it's grapefruit, blueberry, and mint. Mixed up 25, 25, 25. I remember legitimately seeing people back in the day get 250s of each one of those containers and then just mixing them all together and just having a 750, crate of Triforce basically.
Hey, and if you want to know about the Triforce, in about 24 seconds, my review of Alpaca Triforce goes live.
Are you stepping on your own feet here?
Nice plug.
Watch it in an hour.
Oh yes, exactly. Don't leave that. This content is evergreen. That'll
what?
be there later.
I just privatized it. You can't watch it.
All right, Nino. What about you, sir? I see you're smoking a very cool looking hose. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but what is your setup for this evening?
All right, so I'm smoking out of my Nara staff on Agerman Genie. I have the Grand Onyx. I'm not even gonna attempt to maybe move my.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, I don't think you can see it.
Adrian dropped his coals whenever he does that.
With a Provost 3 charcoal flare flats, the timber hose, and I have a one of our mouth tips that we're going to be releasing. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
But that's why it looks a little bit different. And as far as the tobacco that I'm smoking, I am smoking a little bit of Trifecta Twice the Ice and Azure Cherry Muffin, which is great.
Oh boy, that sounds like a very good mix. Twice the Ice and cherry muffin. So a nice cooling cherry, and then I haven't tried the muffin yet, but everyone keeps telling me that muffin flavor is like literally baked out of the oven, tasty.
Yeah, it is. It is awesome. The reason why I put some Twice the Ice is because it is hot in my place right now. It's like 93 degrees outside, and I feel like the little bit of cooling just helps cool me down a little bit today. So.
If anyone,
it's smoking great.
If anyone in the chat is also smoking, let us know what your setup is and also what you guys are partaking in for your tobacco. If you guys have some interesting mixes going on or maybe some new flavors that you're experiencing for the first time, let us know your thoughts on those as well. J-Rock just showed up. Brecken is here as well, including Tristan. He stopped by to say hi. Now, he usually works during our time frame, but I believe he's off for Memorial Day, as I hope everybody is, unless you have a mean dictator of a boss. I'm just kidding. There's jobs that need to be done regardless of the day it is. So do not turn this into political dialogue by any stretch of the imagination. We also have, I believe Doug is here. At least that's what I'm assuming.
Three-tip gang?
We just had the 3-tip gang join us right now. Do you know what the 3-tip gang is, Nino?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Perfect.
Pretty impressive. It's like something I would see in the Cirque du Soleil or something.
Yes, I believe he has a booking coming up real soon. Not in Vegas though. Not in Vegas. Just Reno. So I am also smoking as well during this show, and I am using my Onyx bowl that I was able to pick up in Vegas a long time ago now. I'm using my Carbon 1 AOT stem with the Carbon AOT hose because I haven't used this thing in such a long time, and I thought it was finally time to pull it out. I love this hose so much. I just haven't, it's been stashed away for far, far too long. And then the tobacco of choice is actually going to be a mix of Tangier's Guava, which is a personal favorite, Zomo Strong Mango, and then Alpha Comma Freeze Mint, which is a fabulous mint if you have not tried it. My question to you real quick, Nino, because you said you're using a Provost with your Grand Onyx. Do you use that with foil then as well, or do you put that directly on top of the bowl?
No, I always use the Provost with foil.
Okay. Just wondering about that. Because I know that there are people that have tried to use the AOT without foil before, and I don't think it works out all that well. I don't know if it's just the shape or the design. I don't know.
No. Yeah, I didn't even know people did that. No,
people do anything.
People have said that they've had good sessions like that.
People do everything. Let's be honest. There's nothing that will stop.
They're always trying to complicate things.
Yeah, yes, that is the truth. We do have some comments coming in through the chat right now. We have Paul, who's actually smoking Alpha Comma Mint, and Lady Liberty. Lady Liberty from Azure. Have you tried Lady Liberty from Azure yet, Nino?
I have not. I have not. I don't even know what is that flavor.
It is a fruit roll-up. It is a strawberry fruit roll-up, actually. Very interesting flavor, yes. I actually just dropped a review on my personal channel. If anybody is interested on my thoughts on it, I kept in the fact that I messed up my pack on it because I wanted to make sure that it's known that I'm not by any means Superman. I don't know what I'm doing every single time that I pack, and I thought it was important to show, like, you know what? Even us reviewers, who I think sometimes are held at too high of a standard, we make mistakes too. So I thought that it was important for me to show that off as well. So I kept that in there instead of just reshooting the entire review or anything.
Strawberry flavor that you don't see very often. Not many people have been able to nail that.
Yeah, and this one's not necessarily a strawberry. I want to. It's definitely heavily more the fruit roll-up than it is the strawberry, in my opinion.
Even a hint of strawberry. I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly. Tony says use Provost no foil with Zagul next week, Matt. Okay. Adrian, am I going to be smoking Zagul next week?
You sure will be. We sure both will be. And if he wants us to use a Provost with no foil, I'm just going to use nothing but coal.
I'll use just coal. I'll just use coal too.
No, use the Provost.
Oh, I should. You want me to do that?
You should listen to the chat. They're who matters.
Yeah,
listen to them.
This is the reason why I'm even going to be smoking Zagul. Adrian, because he's my friend, right? Like friends do this to each other. Look at that evil smile. We made a bet with our people watching the show. If we got to 15 likes during the episode, then Adrian would send me over some Zagul and I will smoke it on the air. And luckily Adrian is going to be smoking it with me. So that is a little bit... have you ever tried Zagul, Nino?
I have not.
Oh.
Honestly, I'm not too much of a heavy smoker. I don't really like the heaviness so much. So for me, I definitely would love to try at least, once. Maybe, who knows, maybe I will take to it, but I have not tried it.
Akeem is actually topping us all right now. He's smoking out of his Ottoman N3, and he's smoking Awaha Mint and Mango. Those Awaha I enjoy quite a bit. They have some pretty good flavors. J-Rock is smoking out of a KM Thunderhose V2 Dark Dawn Classic Bowl and the AF Triforce. So we have some people already rocking and rolling with that as well. We have Junior smoking out of a VZ Pro straight Boysenberry from Tangiers is what I'm assuming. Or no, it's Starlight and Boysenberry. Oh my gosh, that sounds phenomenal. Do you guys have any experience with Boysenberry from Tangiers or Static Starlight?
Static Starlight, yes, but I've not tried Boysenberry.
Adrian, do you have experience with either one of those?
I have experience with Static Starlight, but I certainly don't have any experience with Boysenberry. I didn't even know that was a flavor.
Oh boy, that is a very good. That's a good berry flavor, and that must be an absolutely phenomenal mix right there. I would say. Tony just said, "We decide your fate." That's terrifying to think about. Honestly, it kind of is. But let's keep rolling right along with the show, obviously, and move on to our next little segment where we're going to talk about our new reviews that we have. Adrian, you just said that you have a new review dropping today of the Alfacher Triforce, and is that the only thing that you have coming up later on?
No new reviews. No new reviews for me.
Nothing coming up.
Nothing coming out. Just the podcast. Don't go to my channel. Yeah, after this podcast is over, I've got the Alfacher Triforce coming out, and then I've got the Prestige Jumbo Cube review coming out later this week as well.
Oh, I'm excited to see that.
Jumbo Cube
yeah,
or the Jumbo Flat?
I'm a big fan. Spoiler alert. I actually like those a lot.
The Jumbo Cube or the Cube or the Jumbo Flat? Okay, cool. I'm super...
Jumbo Flat. Okay.
Yes, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on that too, because I am only rocking Jumbo Flats from here on out. They're my flat cube or a coal of choice, and that is what I stand by. Already got myself 2 flats of them. Already done with 1 flat just about, so I need to start ordering another one right away. And yeah, I absolutely love these coals as well. And then for me,
so
Go ahead. No.
I was gonna say, so are those comparable in size to? They're a little bit big. They're just more surface area then, basically. I mean, they're smaller than a traditional cube. Just a bigger flat. Yeah, they're a bigger flat. I'll let Adrian cover this because he's going to be dropping a review here shortly, and I've talked quite a bit about them.
Calling bigger flats is a bit of a stretch. Flats all vary a little bit in size and the way that they cut out, how clean the cut is. They actually look very similar to like titanium flats. The size difference, you'd have to break out a micrometer to actually measure the difference. But they're heavier.
Yes.
They're actually quite a bit heavier per hole. And they burn for like a good 15 minutes longer too. So yeah. I think that's where the names derive from.
They're like really dense flats, basically.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay, yeah. That's good to know.
Dense flats would have actually been a really good name for them, to be honest. We've kind of tossed around a couple different names of ourselves that we were kind of thinking of, because Jumbo is a little bit misleading. I just didn't know what else you could call them. Somebody said thick flats. I thought was just a funny name, and I had no issue with that. But dense flats is a very good way to talk about them, because they are heavier and more compact in that capacity. And then for myself, when it comes to new reviews, the Azure Lady Liberty review is the newest one that I have dropping. And then I think the next thing that I have coming up for reviews is probably going to be some Sherbetli. I think that's what I'm going to be reviewing next on my channel, but that's coming down the pipeline as days go by. So let's go ahead. What about you, Nino? Do you have any new reviews coming up that you'd like to mention about?
No, you know what? I just started doing like some lives on my page, but but mainly just kind of Q&As, like just talking. But I haven't done any reviews. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to review my own products. Cause
You have a pretty good in with Mason, though, don't you? Like, you could get
my own review.
you could get some pretty good bowl reviews, though, couldn't you? Like, you have an in with Mason a little bit, don't you?
Just like other manufacturers' bowls?
No. What I'm saying is you have an in with Mason bowls. You could do some reviews.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just bad joke.
Yeah.
Bad joke.
Real bad joke.
But dad joke maybe even that bad. But let's go ahead and move into some news that we have to talk about just a little bit. I just thought we'd do a general overview of some news topics in comparison to Mason bowls, basically. So you guys just released the Grand Onyx Bowl. And if you don't mind, just walk us through a little bit of what the Grand Mason Bowl, or Grand Onyx Bowl is.
Okay, so the Grand Onyx Bowl, and I'm glad to talk about this because a lot of people, I'm not going to say a lot of people, some people have asked me if it's deeper than a normal Onyx, how much does it hold and all that. It is exactly the puck, the top of the Onyx, but melded together with wood. And the reason why I did that is honestly, aesthetic aside, is for the durability of it. So I'd love to talk more about that. I don't know how deep you want me to go into it yet.
Yeah.
You want me to? Okay.
What kind of wood is it?
Go ahead.
What kind of wood is it?
So the wood that we use on the initial batch release is a diamond wood. And I mean, you're familiar with it. It's the wood that the Regal uses. It's wood that you're seeing like out of Russia. However, I also, for myself, released some natural woods just through the testing phase. And later on in the year, I'll probably release like a batch of natural exotics. And what a natural exotic is basically like you would call an exotic wood like a zebra wood or an ebony wood. These are all woods that grow in the forests that are obviously they're exotic. They're from different countries, Brazil, Costa Rica. But for me personally, I mean, a lot of people like colors. They like the bright colors. They like the diamond wood. Me personally, to be honest with you, I mean, you can even see my timber. I'm using like a teak wood. I just personally love like the natural aesthetic of wood.
Okay. Do you have any Regals in your collection?
I do. I bought my first Regal probably 7 years ago. I've always loved like the whole wood aspect. I love wood in general. I just think that it's beautiful when shaped like, you know, to work in a product. And yeah, so I have a pine wood Regal and the timber hose, you know, the original standard one pairs up perfectly with it. It's maple as well. One of the things, again, touching back about the Grand Onyx, one of the reasons why I came out with it is because I don't know if you've seen, I mean, clay breaks, you know, there's always a weak point in clay. I'm sure you've seen people post bowls where they drop their bowl in the dish, where it holds tobacco, it breaks or it chips and all of that. Mm-hmm. One of the things that you will never, well, I won't say never because never is always a strong word, that I've seen in 2 years, I've seen only one person manage to break. They dropped it on granite, the actual puck of it. Okay. The only weak point in the traditional Onyx is where the puck meets the stem. When it breaks, that's why people glue it back together, which is also, you know, I'm not going to market the fact that, oh, it breaks, you can still use it because it never chips because of the way that it's cast, which is also another thing that people don't realize. You know, cast is actually, when it's made out of the right materials, is stronger than a handmade bowl. Because if you think about it, it's compacting evenly through the whole walls. Whereas when you're throwing it by hand, a wall might be 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters thinner on one side than the other, just because of the way that you're throwing the bowl.
Consistency.
So exactly. And so because the Onyx is cast and with such a great material, it's really durable. Now, what I wanted to do is try to make a durable bowl, but I didn't like the way silicone performs because I think we all have our opinions on silicone. The major pro why someone reaches for a silicone bowl is because it doesn't break. If you ask anyone why are they smoking out of a silicone bowl, it's because it doesn't break. So with the Grand Onyx, it is basically giving you the best of two worlds. It's durability, where again the puck never breaks or rarely breaks, and I took away that weak point by using the wood. And basically I kept the clay there because the clay is really what helps perform. So you're going to get the same session as you would with an Onyx, but just think about it like you're purchasing 2 onyxes, but you'll never have to purchase an onyx again. Think about that. It could be the last bowl that you buy if you really want to put it that way.
And the other interesting thing that you have going on with the Grand Onyx is the copper tubing that's running through it as well, correct? Is it like a spiral? Explain the copper tubing a little bit if you could.
The copper tubing is about a few millimeters down into the wood, and so what happens is the clay has a V section that goes into the wood. So there is a millimeter or 2 gap between where the copper and the wood are, so the copper doesn't heat up, because if it was touching the clay, it would heat up to the same degree as the bowl. So it is basically only going to heat up by ambient heat, which at the stem level, it's usually around 90 to 110 degrees. I mean, I took a heat gun to all of this stuff. So the copper never really gets too hot. The sole purpose of having it there is to be able to wash it through. I don't know if you've seen, there's been another wood bowl on the market as well that's not lined at all. And honestly, a lot of us are going to want to wash our bowls. So, at the end of the day, wood and water, they just don't mix. There's nothing that you can really do to say, it's a natural product, right? So by lining that wood in there, and of course we seal it and all of that to try to protect it as much as possible from water, but by lining it with copper, it really ensures that there's no water touching the wood inside of the stem.
Okay. So it's actually, if you were to fill the inside of the Grand Onyx, could you fill a little bit of that copper then?
Yeah, you can see it if you turn it over. You can see where the copper tube is.
Oh, so I didn't realize that actually. That's not something that I was fully aware of. Adrian, do you have any questions about the Grand Onyx or any of the other products that we could talk about right now?
As far as the Grand Onyx, no, I think you did a pretty good job explaining exactly what that bowl is.
Okay. If anyone in the chat would like to say what bowl they're smoking, I figured this would be a good episode to say that. So if you guys are using either an Onyx bowl or any other bowl, let us know what you guys are smoking out of with your tobacco inside of. We have 2K7. I'm not going to try to pronounce the beginning. I think it's Doug, but I could be wrong. Doug, let me know if that's you. He's smoking Trifecta, Indian Cure, Azure Cinnamon Cookie, Black Lava Banana Cream Pie. That sounds like a stellar mix right there. And he's using his red matte pair with 3 Cocoa Earth flats in his Lotus, actually. Eddie just showed up as well. Eddie has a quick question. He says, doesn't copper tarnish? Is there more upkeep because of that reason for the copper at all?
Copper tarnishes just with oxidation, just being open to the elements regardless. If you're familiar with any KM or Sheikah, all of the down stems are made of copper traditionally, and the tarnish can be cleaned out. Honestly, in the bowl, it can be easily cleaned out with just like a pencil and some lemon and vinegar, right? But in a down stem, you can't really get to it. So people are smoking out of tarnished copper for years out of their KMs. Now, the thing that people might not realize is that when you're drinking out of your sinks, you're drinking out of copper tubes. And what tarnishing does is it adds an element of a layer of protectant, really. So the tarnishing, the reason why we're using copper is because it is antimicrobial, whereas stainless steel is not. So that actual layer of tarnish, if you again, everybody has their own preference. If you choose to want to keep it clean, it can easily be done so. But it's not going to affect your session whatsoever if it's tarnished. In fact, like I said, it's antimicrobial, and if anything, it helps add that protective layer.
So not an extra step of maintenance then is what you're saying, just because of the copper in there. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Brecken also asked real quickly, if there's a gap, doesn't the water still come in contact with the wood? Is there a gap of any kind with that copper and wood downstem of it?
There is there's like a 1 or 2 millimeters, so we're talking very thin, and there's actually silicone that is protecting it in between there.
Oh, okay, very nice to know. We'll get to some of the other questions. If you see anything pop up, Adrian, please let me know as well. But moving right along, I guess we should go ahead and get into the interview a little bit if you guys are all ready for it. Adrian, if you want to kick us off with a couple of questions.
Oh, I get to?
Yeah.
Me? Sweet. All right, so we have the interview, and I'm staring at the show notes, and the first thing Matt has decided we should ask you is, Nino, how long have you been smoking hookah?
Okay, so I've been smoking hookah for about 8 years. It could be 9. I haven't kept up to the exact month of when I actually started But it's been about 8 to 9 years. I was originally a member of Hookah Forum. I don't know if you guys remember Hookah Forum, Hookah Pro, and hookah.org. You know, and Royal Hookah Forum. I mean, I was an original member of all of those. While I never really posted that much, I was every day just reading posts.
Just stalking along.
Yes, exactly.
All of us do it, so there's no shame in that at all. Obviously, we do have some bowls coming through. It looks like some people are using the Dawn Bowl Classic Bowl. That seems to be the only. Somebody is using a Mason Release Bowl. Oh no, this is actually a question that got thrown in the chat. Mason Release Bowls are harder to get than a pair of unreleased Jordan sneakers. So that's not a question. It's actually just a statement. Sorry, I didn't realize that wasn't a question. If you do have a question, just so it's a little bit easier for me to spot out, please start your statement with a question mark so that I can see that they are a question that you're trying to get us to ask. Brecken says, silicone gasket nice. These products, the wood, that protects the wood from the water, is what you're saying, correct?
Mm-hmm. And it's all food grade.
Very, very good to know. So my question to you, the next question is, how did you get involved inside of the industry?
So again, I've been part of the communities for 9 years. Okay. And it literally was basically, what did I start? I started, I released the company. I released the first picture of the Onyx about 2 years ago. It started 2 years ago, February. And before that, as you know, I mean, things just don't come out of nowhere. I had worked on the bowl for about a year prior to that. So you could say that I started 3 years ago in the industry. The reason why I started is because honestly, I saw, I had certain taste and I built a certain amount of, taste and, how I wanted my hookah setup to look or perform. And also just reading posts and from different communities from all over, I kind of had a good feeling of what the people wanted too. And honestly, to be totally candid with you, I really felt like the manufacturers were not totally listening to some of these things. And I felt that there was definitely a gap. And I felt like that there was a need for a product that I would put out. And so I've been super, 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 super fortunate that when I did release it, it seems like a lot of other people agreed, because I sold, out my first batch and of course it was a great feeling. But that's really how it's all started is just a need for me to, as an enthusiast, I wanted certain products, and because people weren't making them, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to do this myself.
Which has always been something that I've always liked about the hookah community in whole. We've been a community that when we don't see something that that people are doing, we take it upon ourselves to kind of do it for ourselves and to not only keep that to ourselves, but to inform other enthusiasts as well, and then also either share that, sell it, however that way may be and stuff. I've always found that very interesting. Nobody is trying to enjoy a session by themselves. We're trying to enjoy sessions with each other, and I've always found that to be super interesting. Tony says that he's smoking out of a mini Rook, is what he says. Nino, what do you smoke mainly out of your own personal bowls? Do you smoke dark leaf or blonde leaf more?
Probably dark leaf. I like to mix it up with blonde leaf as well. I smoke a lot of trifecta. I do mix some Tangiers in there as well. And when I say that, I mean I also smoke Tangiers. Occasionally some Alfaker. And, I dabble in Fumari as well. I mean, they have some good flavors. And so that's mainly kind of like the big mix. Azur's got a couple of really good flavors. I'm always interested in trying out new things and always keep an open mind about a brand. I mean, there's even a couple Starbuzz flavors, that, if I happen to run into at the store locally or whatever, that I might pick up.
Adrian, there's a question that came through in the chat. Do you want to take a look at that real quick and see if you can narrow it down, because it's kind of a long question, and we can ask that.
It's more of a this is the one from Frank. This is more of a statement than a question, but maybe Nino can get to this. Copper toxicity, also called copper idius, I'm bad at reading, is a type of metal poisoning caused by an excess of copper in the body. It can occur from eating acidic foods cooked in uncoated copper cookware. You should clean your hookah from excess oxidation. It is not safe to smoke. Just throwing that out. This is Frank.
Okay. So again, people cook out of copper pots, right? And also copper in your body is actually an element that your body actually does need. If you look it up, you'll actually see that there is a element that, you know, that your body actually needs copper. The amount of the smoke is coming through at 90 degrees, just as it would through a copper downstem. To be able to vaporize the copper to where it would be poisonous, it would have to reach over 1100 degrees Fahrenheit. And the bowl portion, even the puck, the actual part that holds the tobacco, you're only smoking at 310 degrees Fahrenheit. Because if it gets hotter than actually around like 280, 310, if it gets hotter than that, you're going to be burning the bowl, and it's not going to be pleasant for you.
Yeah.
So again, this is not something that I went in blind eye. This is something that we put a lot of research into before we put it out there. So trust me, it's not, if that's also the case, then, you know, people would be poisoned, by drinking water out of their sink.
Okay. So, and that makes pretty good sense. Something that I've always said about hookah, the difference between smoking hookah and smoking a cigarette is the difference of combustion. The idea of smoking an actual cigarette or a cigar or those sorts of things, even pipe tobacco, is you're trying to combust it, right? Like when you take the lighter up to the actual thing that you're smoking, you're trying to combust it so that you can create that smoke. When it comes to hookah, you're not trying to do any sort of combustion. You're only trying to get cooking with it. That way you're able to actually smoke with it and just continuously cook the bowl, basically. Nino, when did you make your first bowl?
I made the first bowl 3 years ago is when it was. I made a few different prototypes, hand thrown, and to kind of test the idea of like where I was going to go with the cast when we originally made the Onyx. And through those I had like a couple different varieties, and I had some local hookah enthusiasts here in Chicago test out. But because you know what, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm the best. I know all and all of this stuff. I wanted to get different opinions because everybody smokes differently. You know, I'm a believer that, yeah, there is there is a methodology on how you can get the best smoke. But there are some people that smoke hot. There's some people that don't. There's some people that, you know, smoke, you know, Zagul that's on top of it. There's some people that don't. You know, some people use HMD, some people don't. And so I wanted to test it with a variety of different mindsets and people and see how it held up. And by using some of their feedback and taking a lot of their feedback, that's how we decided on the Onyx.
Okay. Adrian, do you want to hit the next question?
Absolutely. Oh, that's a weird way to type that. I'm going to read it as it's typed out. Nino, what are some of your favorite hookah stuff?
Hookah stuff.
Hookah stuff, yeah. What's so weird about that? I mean, it's all just stuff at the end of the day, right?
I guess.
What are some of your favorite hookah things? What is some of your favorite stuff in the hookah world? What are some of your favorite hookah stuff, Matthew? Is an interesting way to word that.
Well, I didn't want to list out tobacco, bowls, pipes, you know, hoses, everything under the sun and stuff. Maybe not all your own products and stuff like that as well. Anything in general, hookah stuff. What is some of your favorite stuff in the hookah world?
Well, honestly, when I first started, I was like a pipe collector. I always collected pipes and all of that. And I like just a variety of anything from traditional to the modern pipes that were out there. That was kind of really, I mean, I did have a variety of different bowls. You know, I had crown glass bowls, I had HJ bowls, Tangiers, funnels. Honestly, since I've started the company, it's actually been like kind of a reverse effect, only because a lot of the money that I would put towards those kind of products, and now I'm just investing in research and development in the business. So for the most part, I've kind of slowed down on collecting, you know, all kinds of different pipes. I mean, I got my hands on a couple of Norrises, which is something that I've always wanted. I think any OG member from like 9 years ago, that was like the pipe that everybody wanted on a boho. And so I just had to have that in my collection. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, I like it all. Like, I mean, it's like kind of cheesy to say that, but anything that is unique, different, I'm totally down.
Which is something I think is very akin to the hookah community, like you said, about collecting and stuff like that. It's one of the reasons why I wanted an Onyx bowl in the very beginning when I first saw them. Is like, oh man, I want to put that in my collection. That is a bowl that I think deserves a place on my shelf. And that's how I've pushed a lot of the stuff that I have purchased and gotten for my own personal use and stuff is collecting oriented. I like to have a nice collection of stuff because I am at heart an enthusiast and a collector for so many different things, going back to like video games and stuff for my own personal life and stuff. Doing anything that's collecting oriented is something that I've always had a huge part of in my life. Let's see. We had another question. We want to, before the end of the show, if possible, we want to see a close-up of the mouth tip and get a little bit of a sneak peek, if possible. So that's something that we want to make sure that we hit on as well.
Can I touch on one thing before? Yeah. There's going to be things where if I want to go in more in depth, if we have about time, I'd like to kind of delve in there.
We're fine.
Let me touch on what you just said about collecting. I mean, I feel like that's something that I personally believe, and this will set up later, what we're going to talk about. I personally believe that, hookah is a niche. That's not a belief. That's a fact, right? Yeah. Hookah is a niche. And then you have enthusiasts, right? There's people that go to lounges, in my local lounge, they're perfectly okay with going to the hookah lounge every week, but they never care about going on a forum or getting really into it and buying a $300 setup. There's people that I've met at the lounges that, smoke every week and they don't even own their own hookah. All right. Mm-hmm. So you have that level of enthusiasts. The people who target those enthusiasts are mainly the ones that are, selling, cheap Chinese pipes. They pick it up. Oh, it looks pretty. Those are the market for them. Okay. Then you have the enthusiasts. That's another niche within a niche of hookah. Mm-hmm. The enthusiasts are people who want to learn more about the hobby, get the perfect session, delve deeper into it, just sit down, talk, learn about different flavors, and just go into another realm, and really kind of it's a hobby. It's what makes up their day. It's what makes time go by, right? We all work 9 to 5, and we can all unravel and wrap our heads around different types of things like hoses and hookahs, and really just go and get lost in this world, right? But within that, there's also another niche, and that's who my audience is. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that is the collector / let's say premium luxury niche, because not everybody is that person either. There are people that are totally fine smoking a $90 stem and smoking Tangiers because that's all that they've ever smoked, and they're totally okay with that. They don't want to smoke or try anything differently. Okay, so that has to be understood. When people don't understand or don't get it, it's because maybe you're not the right audience, or you're just not the person, and that's okay. No one's here to say that you're wrong. Like, oh, you only have one pipe, that's weird. No, it's just that's what appeals to you. At the end of the day, we're all here smoking hookah, and 90% of the population isn't. So let's all come together and understand that some people have certain tastes and needs, mm-hmm. basically. And for me, that niche, the premium niche, that was kind of for me. My understanding was there was a gap there, and that's where I wanted to kind of fill that gap.
And I think we've definitely seen that, me and Adrian, especially in our own private chats and stuff like that, talking to a very good friend of ours, Tristan. He's huge into the fact of the customization part of it, right? Like, he wants to own these different pieces of Mason because they go so well with his other premium pipes that he already owns, right? So for him, owning these other premium parts going along with his premium pipes all meld together really nicely. And I think that's definitely the part where Mason shines most, is that idea of getting into that luxury type of accessory for when it comes to hookah. Because the reality is do you need to have a Mason bowl or a Mason product? The reality is no, you don't. But it is going to give you a more pleasurable experience in certain ways compared to other things, as any premium bowl is going to. What are your standpoints? This is kind of a question out of left field real quick. Just what are your standpoints on the idea that a Mason bowl is a necessity or needed? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It is needed if you want it. Is it needed? Nothing is needed. An Egyptian bowl is what's needed. None of this is needed. We can all be smoking $50 stems, and as long as it's made out of a quality clay and not cheap porcelain, everything else is not a necessity. This is all us overcomplicating things. People putting mm-hmm. provosts on top of tobacco is because people want to overcomplicate things, because that's what gets them excited. Mm-hmm. You see a lot of even manufacturers who I won't name, they come out with different products with the same name, similar, product, but different versions and all that. It's because they understand that people it just entices people. It keeps people in the hobby. You know, I get people all the time messaging me that say, thank you for making hookah exciting for me. Okay. Thank you for making hookah exciting for me again. You know, like that is the kind of thing where when you understand that if I can bring 1 or 2 more people back into the hobby, because there are a lot, I mean, over the course of 9 years, I've seen a lot of hardcore members, and maybe you guys have seen it as well, that they're ghost after about 1 or 2 years, just because it just doesn't entice them anymore. They're not excited about anything. I like to think that by me innovating, coming up with different things, coming up with these different colorways, it's keeping people excited into the hobby, you know, and from the messages that I receive, that is what I've found. People are looking forward to the next release. They're waiting on edge. They're looking for this. They want to add this to their collection. And here's a thing where I think differentiates me a little bit and my mindset on this. You know, everybody, what I've found is that people who are into hookah, anybody that really delves into a hobby hardcore has also other hobbies. You just said yourself, you're a gamer. Yeah. So yeah, I've never met like someone that's into hookah that doesn't also have another hobby. Like I have saltwater tanks, and there's other hookah enthusiasts that I've met that have saltwater tanks. Saltwater is incredibly complicated to keep alive. You have the one element that goes AWOL, and you can lose $2,000 worth of fish, livestock in a day. But guess what? People love that. People love the fact that, like, look how complicated this is, and look at what I've been able to achieve. You know, it's that drive that keeps them into the hobby. And same thing. I'm really into watches, and I always compare what we're doing here to what's happening in the watch world. Although I will also have to say, I'm in multiple communities, multiple forums. Hookah is sometimes the most hostile and the most drama-driven than all of these other hobbies. But let's talk about watches for a second. Watches are it's a non-essential item now. 40 years, 50 years ago, everybody needed a watch to know the time on their wrist. And those were mechanical watches. Swiss movements, where a 70-year-old guy in Switzerland painstakingly is putting hundreds of pieces together to make a watch move and have a life on your wrist. The quartz crisis came in the 80s. Battery, boom, it's more accurate than a Swiss piece that someone took days making, and it'll stay accurate to a second for a year. Whereas as a mechanical watch, every 3 days it loses 7 seconds. Okay, so get this. Now we have phones. We don't need watches, right? However, in the watch communities, no one's shit talking on the $300 Seikos. You know, and in the community where people are buying $10,000 Rolexes, the people who are buying the $10,000 Rolexes, you know why they buy them? Because they also, a $10,000 Rolex doesn't keep time better than a phone or a quartz battery $10 Daniel Wellington watch or whatever you might find on Instagram. Okay, what drives them is their love for the hobby and their love for the overcomplicatedness of that, the history, the branding. And that's what makes people buy a $10,000 watch. It's about, screw you, I don't care what you think. There's Rolex. Okay, some people buy a Rolex because they want the name, and they want people to see them. There are other brands out there that cost more than a Rolex that you guys would never know. And why does someone buy a $15,000 watch that nobody cares about? It's what makes them happy. Yeah. That's the same feeling that I feel about our products. Yeah. Sorry about that. I feel that if this product speaks to you aesthetically, like we all went through everybody's setups here today, and everybody's super proud of what bowl, what stem, because that's what makes them happy. When the smoking part of it is 70% of it, the other 30% is looking at their hookah and being proud of it. Yeah. And that's priceless.
So I'm getting some weird feedback. Are you getting weird feedback too?
Oh.
Do anybody have the show playing? Okay, it's over for some reason. Okay. Yeah, I agree that a lot of that comes down to what makes us excited. Now, when you say excited, are you talking about the excitement of your actual product getting released, or the I don't want to call it a game because I feel like that may be oversimplifying it a little bit, but the difficulty that it can get to actually get your product sometimes. So let me ask a question that came through on chat real quick. It talked about gigabit internet. It says, with gigabit internet speeds that are overseas, customers have regular customers that won't be able to compete on release dates, do you have any plans on changing that model to even the playing field a little bit? So is the game about the product itself that you're releasing, or is the game about or not the game, but I think you know what I mean by that, the excitement? Is it about the product that you're releasing, or is the excitement over the effort that is to try and get the product that they want to have in their hands?
The strategy has always been about the product from day one, because again, and we can touch on this if you want me to talk about it now or later, but this is not intentional. I'm making a product as much as I can, and I can talk more about what that entails and why that is and whatnot. This strategy that you say, like, you know, it's being sold out in a second and all that. This is an after effect of creating a product that spoke to people, that people wanted, that people said, you know what, I've never seen a glaze like this. I've never seen a bowl with this aesthetic at this price that performs. And that's the original thing of what people want the product for, at the bare bones of it. The fact that it's selling out, you know, there are some people that like and get off on the fact that nobody else can have it. And there are some people, and I'm sure Adrian is one of these people, because I think I heard you say before, it's a turnoff. Okay. And that's okay. Like, I get that. I'm not trying to ostracize, you know, one or the other. It just happens to be what it is. It just happens to be that there's a lot of people that it speaks to, that they want it, and they hear good things about it. They're referred. Another thing is, a lot of people always say, well, maybe they only want it because it's exclusive. I get so many people say, I smoked out of my friends, it does amazing. I smoked out of this guy's, it does amazing. I had this reviewer told me it was great. I want it because of that. It's not because, like, hey, I can't get it. Again, there are some people that they get off on that. But again, that's not what drives us. At the end of the day, this is a business. Why do I want 70% of the people not to have my product?
Yeah.
It doesn't make business sense.
With that being said, so do you think that in the foreseeable future you could ever see yourself trying to even the playing field by either limiting overseas type, maybe doing a release that is purely in America and not doing a full on blast for everybody that is possible of getting it, to kind of make it a little bit?
I think the biggest issue that Paul's getting at is the issue that not everyone has gigabit internet speeds. So anyone who does have access to that type of speed will have an obvious overwhelming advantage over someone that has, like me, a certain amount of megabits of internet speed to be able to scoop up these bowls. I think that's more what Paul was angling himself towards as far as the question went.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this question came about, this is the first time that I've actually even heard this discussion, is by one specific enthusiast who published his internet speed and said, this is the reason why I'm able to get it. So for me, this is like kind of a brand new thing, coming at me. At the end of the day, this is not free. If people are choosing to spend over and over $38 to $100 for a product over and over, I can't imagine that that's going to continue to happen. It's not like these individuals are going around and selling it. Now, that's something that I would totally
shut down,
stop to immediately. If someone was brokering my stuff out, like using their internet speed as an advantage to make money and to take advantage of other people, then that's a whole nother game. But if someone's continually, who am I to say that if you want to collect my bowl that you can't because your internet speed's faster? That's not fair to them either. Because at the end of the day, they're still paying the same amount of money that everybody else is. At one point, they're going to have to jump out of the game, because how many bowls can you really have? If you collect every color.
Are you saying that that's not happening? Are there not people buying product, multiple pieces of product to resell in, say, their store or something? Because I do know that Mason bowls are readily available in certain storefronts.
There are the people who did that. There's one or two individuals that I know after the fact that bought them for their store. Again, it's not people who are buying them off of members. It's actually enthusiasts who bought a couple. A lot of these shop owners too, they are enthusiasts as well. I mean, they are into the hobby. The flattering thing is a lot of them buy them for themselves. If they do choose to buy more and sell them in their store, this is something that is only happened like less than I can count on one hand. And it's not something that I know exactly who it was and this and that. I have an idea on like one or two names, but these are people that I can tell you the last 5 batches have not bought a bowl.
So the next question, kind of going right off of that, are you ever planning on limiting bowls for people that have already purchased some already, to give people that have been trying for 2+ years, I don't know if that's a for sure number, obviously, to get a bowl for their own personal chance to be able to buy? You know, limiting on the fact that, like, oh, I know you already own an Onyx bowl. Would you ever consider doing something like that? Like maybe doing a new person only batch or something of sorts?
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm trying to do, again, with the website, the way that it is, it's not set up to where you can just filter out certain individuals. And again, if I filter out one individual and he wants to buy a hose, now he's not able to buy a hose, or he's not able to buy a mouth tip. So that's not something that I think is fair to do. However,
well, that's all backdoor stuff, right? Like, you do have that amount of control depending on what interface you're using for your website. You can absolutely limit people from buying a specific product. I don't know if the website's set up that way, or if you have any plans to set the website up that way.
If that is, I mean, I'm using Shopify. If that is, I haven't seen any of the feature to be able to limit it to a specific product where they can't buy a certain product. I mean, this is a problem that not many Shopify people, I think, have, right? Everybody wants everybody to buy their stuff.
Yeah.
So like for this rarity thing, I don't know if there's something that in that regard. But what I want to do and what I plan on doing is I plan on having more random like group buys or specific limited pre-orders in certain communities. This is something that I am planning on trying to do in the future. Okay, because I do want people, again, at the end of the day, and hear me out here, and this makes total sense if I say this, right? At the end of the day, if someone asks a question in a group and they say, what's the best bowl, right? People are not going to say the best bowl is something that they don't own because they don't know anything about it. A majority of the people who are commenting, you know, this bowl, that bowl, they're people that also don't own our bowls, right? At the end of the day, that doesn't look good on me that people are recommending other competitors' products because they don't have one. You know, and there's new people reading those messages, and they're going to say, well, I'm going to pick this bowl because this guy says it's the best, but he doesn't have one of my bowls. So at the end of the day, I want everybody to have my product because it does help me too, right? It helps me because in that regard, I want everybody to recommend my stuff. So it's not like I'm sitting here and saying, I only want these people over here to have it and not these people. Like, there's definitely plans on trying to randomize. Number one, increasing production. It's continually increasing. If you've seen this month, I've had more batch releases than ever before. I had a hose release earlier this month. I had a Grand Onyx release 2 weeks ago. And then this week, for the first time ever, I had 2 releases at the same day of 2 different bowls. So you guys can see the progress. Like, it's happening. And I kept promising that it's happening. And I'm not just blowing hot air, no pun intended. It is happening, and one of the things that people have to understand, and again, you can choose to be by my side or not, and it's up to you, but this is a day job. I have a day job, okay? It's not like I have full time to invest the capital to build my own, you know, full-time staff that only does this product. The problem is what I alluded to earlier. This is a niche within a niche. And I am too cognizant of that to say I'm gonna quit my job and just go all into this niche within a niche. And here's the thing, guys, and this is something that I really hope resonates with everybody. If you guys have noticed how many hookah innovations have happened in the U.S. in the past 2-3 years, not a whole lot. If we're talking about hookah stems, we have the same basic players for the past 3 or 4 years. And who's infiltrating the market? It's the international. Because they're able to make things at a way cheaper price than we are here in the United States. And also they have a bigger market. I want to say sometimes I see their expos, I see their thing, I see their pages. They're at 30,000 members. We're at 10,000. They have giant communities, and in that, people are going to go full in, quit their jobs, and try to make money off of these guys. In the United States, we have, again, we're a niche within a niche. The niche that just goes and smokes out of a Chinese pipe, unfortunately, is bigger than our community. So the amount of people that are willing to go in and go full hard in on trying to make a luxury premium item, or not even just say luxury, just an item with high quality materials and bring it to market, it's not easy to do, guys. And the only reason why I'm able to do it is because I have a day job. So it's one of those things that I have to balance. Like, I don't think any of you guys want to see me have to put my house for sale because I decided that, 5 months ago that I'm going to quit my job, go all in so some people can get some bulls. And then all of a sudden, in 2 years, I saturate the market and I have no job.
Yeah, I don't.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So going off of that just a little bit, what do you think about the people when they say that you choke the supply on purpose? I know that you've probably heard that before. Yeah. It's been something that's thrown around for a very long time, honestly. We've seen that supply and demand in many different fields and in many different industries and stuff. And the idea that we're getting this kind of supply that you are doing, I do agree, though, that you are ramping up tremendously in comparison to what it was even a year ago and stuff, obviously. But what do you say to those that are saying that the demand is a little bit more, or the supply is choked to kind of increase the demand a little bit?
I say that you're giving me way too much credit.
Okay.
That's what I say. If you think that I am doing that, it's totally off base. I'm definitely not doing it. I only have in my own personal collection 3 bulls, actually. I have one regular onyx, which is the first one I ever made. I have a helix that is damaged that I kept for myself, and I have a grand onyx. And the reason why I only have 3 bulls is because I feel too guilty to not give someone, when they ask me, and I get messages every other day, can I have a bull? And if I see that bull sitting there, and I say, well, why do I need that bull for? This guy wants one. He's been wanting one for months. I'm trying to give people as much as I can. And it's continuing to grow. The capital is being continually reinvested. If I go and sell 100 bulls yesterday, my next batch, I'm going to try to invest in all that money that I made into increasing that production, increasing that supply. So honestly, cash flow is tight because I'm just continually reinvesting that money into new products and increasing production. And it's going to be a slow process. And it's already, you've seen that slow process over the past year, but it's finally starting to reap some rewards, and that's why we've been able to come out with different products.
Okay. I think that's all good information about that. Adrian, do you want to touch on the next question?
Yeah, I don't know if this is something you want to get into too far, but Nino, can you tell us a little bit about what your normal batch size looks like?
My what?
Normal
My batch size.
Yeah.
Typical batch size, yeah.
My batch size is, I'm curious of what people think. Some people think that it's like 10 bulls. Some people think it's like.
I've made jokes in the past. Yeah, I've made jokes in the past. Just to be completely transparent and stuff. I've made jokes about it being like 5 or 3 bulls, just as a joke, obviously. Yeah. I don't believe that it's 5 or 3 bulls. I would like to believe it's somewhere closer to 50 bulls. I don't know the actual numbers, but what is an average for the slip cast for the Onyx? Obviously, I would imagine it would be more in comparison to the Helix because the Helix are handmade. Is that a truth, or are they both about the same batch size normally, or what?
So let me tell you guys about that too. You guys are familiar with the other handmade bulls on the market. Very familiar. Yeah. Have you seen the shapes of those bulls? Okay. Mm-hmm. Those bulls are functional design. They're made for a purpose, and that's it. Mm-hmm. They're functionally designed that way because they're easier to make by hand that way and pump out in production, okay? You've seen the Helix, and I don't know if you've gotten a chance to see it in person. No. But it has ribbing in the inside. It has sharp edges. It has texture on the rim and on the bottom of it. And it has a flared spire to keep from the juices coming out. All of this stuff, and one Helix takes an hour to make. And that's not including the glazing. The glazing alone takes about a half hour. Okay. Okay. And so the cast, I'm not going to go too much into it because, again, it's proprietary information and all that. Yeah. But have you guys seen the other cast bowls on the market? They're usually made out of cheap material, right? I haven't. Those are easier to make. Like the Vortex bowl and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. Okay. Those are made out of that material for production reasons. For the amount of you've seen ours. Nobody is making a cast bowl out of the material that we're making ours out of. Okay. And the reason why that is because it takes so damn long to cast that bowl. And yes, I can get a lot of casts and get a lot of them made, but with that, I need a lot more manpower as well, and that's something that we're ramping up to.
Now, are your bowls made in America?
Yes.
They're 100%. They're 100% made in America. They're not made anywhere else or anything.
I buy my glazes that are made in America, and I pay American people, and I go and pick them up locally. It was very important to me to be able to start this company off, to be able to have total hands-on, and I would never be able to do something like that overseas. And to be honest with you guys, there's a reason why the other international markets love American-made bowls, because of the quality of our clay. So why would I go and make a bowl out of a cheap crap material overseas, when it's just going to be an aesthetic thing and it's not going to function?
Are they made in Chicago then? Is that where they're actually made and produced?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Even the hoses, everything's made here.
Okay.
So did you want to get into the batch sizes at all?
Yeah.
So we're talking about.
Well, I'm not gonna say the exact batch size, but it's more than 50.
More than 50 per bowl or
per bowl.
Per bowl, more than 50 per. Okay. Now, I did find it interesting with this last batch release. There was a screenshot that went around. I don't know if it was a public screenshot or what, but it said that there was 1,000 people viewing a certain web page at one given time, basically. I don't know how your data shows that information, if it's like every hour, every half hour, or how that shows necessarily. But I do find it interesting if there's 1,000 people waiting for a batch to get released and then to scoop in and start buying and stuff. That would obviously be very difficult to meet that sort of supply. Like, regardless of the batch size that you're aiming for, are you noticing? And I don't know if you can get into this. This is an unprepared question, obviously. Are you noticing the amount of extra people trying to purchase a bowl past the point of sell out? Does it show you there is, I don't know, 50 more people that tried to purchase based after the 50 or whatever the amount of bowls was that was purchased?
Do you want to know the crazy thing? My website has tons of hits, triple-digit hits, even when I don't even have a batch release. Mm-hmm. Like, just people looking, or I don't even know what they're doing on it, but there's hundreds of people on there every day, even when I don't have a batch release, okay? When the batch goes live, you saw, and I put those numbers and I published those numbers so people can start seeing what I'm talking about. If I have 1,000 people like logged in, and I make 400 bowl, what, it's gonna last 5, 10, 15 minutes then? Yeah. So it's gonna sell out. I mean, again, I'm not even trying to sound cocky. I'm just saying it's the supply and demand. I'm trying to meet the demand, because that's lost money, that's lost revenue. Mm-hmm. Someone might say, F this, I'm sick and tired of dealing with this. It's at some point, why would I want that to happen? But at the end of the day too, right now, again, because I have a niche within a niche, I don't have the resource to just say, I'm gonna sit home and pack 300 boxes myself and go to work at 9 in the morning the next day. I'm up until 3 in the morning already doing batch release boxes. I mean, I do that myself. Okay. So you guys have to understand, like, the people who are, at the end of the day, I can't be mad at people, because the only reason why that they're even upset and all that is because at the end of the day, they do want a bowl. And I can't be mad at that, because they want my product and it's flattering that they want it, right? So at the end of the day, I keep always that in mind. If someone's mad and they were a previous consumer, like someone that was going after a batch and now they turned hostile, I understand that at the end of the day, they were someone that actually wanted the product. And I'm doing the best that I can to try to appease everybody, but I can't right now. I don't know. Again, I'm increasing production, but I have to do it within cash flow constraints, within reason. I have to be calculated and smart about how fast I grow it. Because again, it's not like this is my only sole purpose of being is making a premium market bowl for everybody. I want to try to get it to everybody, but again, I can only do so much. Now, if you want to say that you rather not 100 people in a release or whatever get a bowl, you rather that not even happen, that I don't even exist, that Mason shouldn't even exist because of that, and you think that that's okay for the U.S. market to stay stagnant and not innovate and come out with customizable handles and come out with all these different things, then that's on you. But I'm trying to do something that people are not doing in the United States, and that's invest into premium things, because the market's just not there. You're not going to see a big guy invest in a handle that takes 2 hours to make, because the money's just not there. Mm-hmm. A shop's just not going to pick that up, because a shop's owner is a random guy walking in that doesn't know anything about these websites or communities or reviews. Yeah, so I'm in a market, and as soon as people realize that I'm in a small market here, that I can't make this my full-time gig, because I know that in 1 or 2 years, like, what's going to happen? I'm going to saturate that market, And honestly, the FDA is also making things very difficult for people. You see it all the time. They're trying to limit the amount of hookah that goes out. So I know some really big tobacco manufacturers that are also worried. They're also worried what's going to happen in the next 1 or 2 years about what if their jobs are going to go under. The difference is that they're making way more money than I am in the meantime off of tobacco sales. And for me, I mean, I'm making peanuts compared. So I can't afford to go all in, make millions of dollars, and then just say, you know what, I'll figure something else to do.
Now, will you be at the Vegas Expo, the Hookah John Hookah Worldwide? You will be at the Vegas Expo?
I won't have my own booth. I hope to next year. Just again, because I've invested so much money into these new products that are coming just before the expo. I really just don't have again, I'm already selling out, so it's not like I really need any more like rub it in your face, like, hey guys, like look at all these bowls that you guys that I can't keep up with. Like right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to invest all that money into that for advertising. But I will be there because I love the community, and I'm going to be helping out like Trifecta and Chica at their booths. But I will be there just as myself, just talking with the community. I've been to every single expo for the past 4 years. I've gotten to meet a lot of great people, and my sole purpose is to have fun, smoke, and help where I can.
Very cool. If we have any more questions in the chat, please ask them now so we can get to them. Something that was thrown out there as well, if Dr. Noob Sauce is still here, he said something about that putting a Provost on top of the bowl was going to overcomplicate it. We were talking about putting it directly on top of tobacco. We were going one step further. I think you missed that part of the conversation. Though he did say something pretty awesome when he said niche inception, which I wanted to say, but he beat me to it. But I agree that we are talking about niche inception basically to a certain point. Something else that was said though, can you explain the differences between your bowls and something like an alpaca bowl material wise? Obviously you can't go into proprietary information going into what you actually make it out of unless you can a little bit. Is it stoneware at all? Is there some sort of a stone component to it? I know it's called Shishaware material and stuff like that, but what are some of the differences in materials used in other bowls in comparison?
Well, I can't tell you the exact differences because I don't know what these people are making their bowls exactly out of, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say I have this and they don't have that. But what I can tell you is what our bowls are made of is stoneware, and it has minerals that are known to retain heat.
Yes,
and it's not your standard, go to the art store and find some clay. It's something that we have to mix ourselves, and it's certain additives, powders, this and that we design to help what we think would do well in this function.
And that is something that I've said for a long time when it comes to Mason. The Onyx bowl that I have is the heat retention on it is absolutely fantastic. It's hard to debate that, obviously. I think that it does a stand-up job when it comes to that sort of thing, as some other stone bowls do that I own as well. But I do like the heat retention that I get from my Onyx bowl, especially. Adrian, do you have any other questions that you can think of?
Yeah, I do have one on hoses that I just got in through direct message. I'm not sure why it wasn't posted onto the actual chat. But can you explain why the cost of a Mason hose is so much higher than its competitors? What is driving the cost up for it? And I know we already covered a little bit about how long it takes to make your products and stuff, but maybe you can go a little deeper into materials and stuff.
It's plain and simple. If I made it out of aluminum, I can make it in China for a couple dollars. And nobody's making a wood hose that's just a wood hose, right? That's in a variety of different. If you are making a wood hose and it's made in China, you have to have only that one style because you have to order hundreds of them at a time. If you guys see, I'm releasing out different colors, different woods every single time, and that's because I have the ability to do that because they're here, they're made here, and they're hand turned. If they were machine made, okay, now this is comparing, which I don't know of any on the market today, just a sole wood hose. But if we're going to compare, like, let's say there's a $40, $50 wood hose on the market compared to my $65 standard maple one, I'm going to tell you they're made in China, and it's one design, one wood stock, and they're making hundreds of them, and that's how they're able to get that price point. Okay. But again, nobody's making out of a poly hose, because that takes an hour, and you can talk to any craftsman that's worked with it. They say, I get messages say, I know how hard this is to make, because to make that look like, you have to understand, there's a knife going against this. To make it look like glass, there's so much work just beside turning the shape that goes into sanding, multiple sanding steps, multiple polishing steps. That alone I mean, the amount of money that I'm making on this is not even that much. It's just the amount of cost and the fact that I'm making it here in the U.S. I'm in a market that doesn't really exist with the hoses. And it was something that I did because I said, you know what? The hose is in your hand. It's the thing that you're the closest with. And I was just not happy with the way that the hoses were on the market. They all look very similar. And again, there are some people that are totally okay with that, and that's totally fine. But someone like me, again, I recognize there's this niche of people that want to, again, overcomplicate things and really personalize things to their setup. And I felt that there was an absence of that on the market. So that's why the hoses cost more. It's a simple fact. You can see it. I mean, does this look like a $30 hose? No, I can't make this for that much money.
Okay.
And that, at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Another question that I forgot to put onto this, but I thought I'd throw it out there and see what you can say about it. Are you the mastermind when it comes to the actual designs of these bowls and the hoses and things like that? Are you the person that actually comes up with the actual design? Or do you go into the pottery place that you frequent and talk to them about what it is you're wanting to see in a design? Or are you fully involved in the actual creation from, concept to prototype to everything that goes involved in that?
If I left it up to potters, because how many people grew up learning the art of hookah bowl making, they'd be making candlesticks for you. So I have to design it, and I do it with my wife. My wife is actually a designer.
Okay.
And we use AutoCAD, and we actually, all of these bowls start off in a CAD design program.
Okay.
That shows you how much that we care about the specific dimensions and all of that. So we design it. Okay. It's me telling her and us just brainstorming, her using her aesthetic. She's been in design school for 10 years. And we just kind of collaborate together.
So, all right, awesome. That answers my question. I have one more question. Adrian, do you have anything else you want to ask real quick?
No, I think we've covered most of the things that people had to ask for this podcast.
Awesome. The last question is going to be kind of a different one. It was something that was asked in chat from Junior. He says, with the Russian takeover, is there a pipe that you guys are wanting to get your hands on? I thought this would be a fun way to end the show, maybe a little bit. Is there any pipe that you're seeing either overseas or maybe even in season stuff that you're interested in picking up or that you've thought about getting? For me personally, it's the Like Smoke Hookah. I think the Like Smoke hookahs look absolutely fantastic, and that's the next thing that I want to get myself is a Like Smoke. Adrian, what about you? Is there anything overseas that you're looking at getting?
The Alpha hookahs look really nice.
Oh yeah, they do.
I just saw Hookah Chef just released a review on it, and that thing looks really good. I like the Like Smokes as well; those look fine. I think the matte pear train has gotten a little bit much. I've seen everyone has a matte pear now. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm not trying to pick up a matte pear just because everyone has one. I've smoked out of them; they're great, but I don't think I'm gonna buy one at this point.
What about you, Nino? Is there any pipes that are getting you excited?
So I have a matte pear that I bought like 7 months ago, before they started infiltrating even more over here. And I honestly, I love it functionally. It's great. And you can see a lot of Russian, other companies have started kind of taking aspects of it and kind of just reinventing it. For me, I really, really like the Aljamal hookah made in Germany out of a machined brass, which is completely different than what people are doing. That to me is beautiful. It's totally unique, and I definitely probably will pick one up in the next month or two. And I know not a lot of them are in the States, so if I do, I definitely will give a review, because I know it's a lot of money, and if someone's going to spend it, you want to make sure that it smokes well. So
yes. For sure. All right. Well, awesome. I guess we don't have any other questions coming through in the chat. We want to thank everybody so much for joining us and being a part of this on the live show. Nino, thank you so much for being a part of the AM Hookah Podcast. We can't tell you enough how grateful we are to have you on and to answer so many great questions as well. This has been a very fun and informative show. Is there somewhere on the internet where people can find you easily?
They could just add my Facebook, Mason Bowls. I mean, I post a lot there. Actually, I post more there than in my personal account. I just noticed I haven't posted my personal account for a month and a half, so people probably think I'm dead. But yeah, I mean, just shoot me a message. I get people that want to talk all the time, whether it's just about bowls or whether it's about what they're smoking, and I'm totally happy doing that. We also do, I'll give a quick plug to our Chicago Hookah Meetup, which I know Adrian came out to. Again, I'm super stoked that you came out. It is madness, and there's so many people, and I wish that I got to spend more time with you, because honestly, that meetup goes by in an hour for me. It's just everybody's like, I'm just being grabbed everywhere, and I'm trying to talk to everybody. But I also want to give a quick shout out to the OGs. I want to give credit to Tangiers, the Tangiers Bowl, for creating the funnel, first of all, because without them, this wouldn't all be possible. And for Hookah John, what Hookah John and Alpaca are doing is really, again, now knowing how, being behind the business, it's what they're doing is really incredible. I mean, to be able to bring to you the quality that they do at that price point, it's really something to be applauded, honestly. And again, because I'm not able to make, again, at the end of the day, because I'm not able to make something at that price point today, what I want to do is bring you something with quality, put in the etchings, put in these things, because if I'm going to have to make it a certain amount of money, I'm not going to give you a basic form that you're not going to be proud of, or use a basic glaze. I'm going to use expensive premium glaze. I'm going to give you wood, give you different ideas, give you something unique, because I'm charging, a premium price, and I understand that. And with that comes premium service as well. I respond back in like 5-10 minutes, 80% of the time. Because again, that's what people are paying for. It's all built into the cost of the product. So again, and thank you guys for allowing me the time. It really, seriously, I wanted to get on here so bad because I really love what you guys are doing. And I'll be definitely sharing to other people, this podcast, as I feel like more people need to know about it, because you guys are doing an awesome thing. Anything that helps the community and helps grow the community, go to the Hookah Expo. I mean, the Hookah Expo is a huge step forward for the U.S. Hookah market. All the other markets are doing it, and not the United States. At the end of the day, guys, Tangiers, Regal, these were like the first big names. I was just in a German group earlier today, and they were giving so much credit to the American innovation, and it seems like it's being stagnated the past couple of years. And I really want people to remember, like, we created this market, and we helped. Starbuzz really helped grow the market. All of these great brands, they helped great, and it all started here in the United States. And so I really just kind of want to push that forward, keep supporting U.S. products. Definitely, there's some great stuff being made overseas as well. But let's keep supporting each other, because at the end of the day, we are just one community with a small member count, and we can't tear each other down.
Yes. Can we get you to show the tip of the Mason mouth tip that's coming out? Can we get a sneak peek of that a little bit? We've seen you smoking on it.
Yeah. So it's on a leather. Here, I'm just gonna put it. It's on a leather cord, and these are gonna be made out of the same material as the sapphire hoses. So these are all handmade as well. So the cool thing about it, and again, it's soft touch silicone. It's going to go over. I mean, you guys have seen these before, but the cool thing is because we're hand throwing these, and again, they're not being made in a bulk overseas with 3 colors. You're going to start seeing cool different designs, maybe different sizes, and they're going to be basically customizable to whatever, if you wanted a green tip with, some gold in it, or whatever the case may be, you're going to really be able to personalize it. It's hanging around your neck. Maybe some people will wear it around the expo as, jewelry. I don't know. Yeah. But it's exciting. It's like a small little step to just personalize your experience a little bit more.
Yeah, mouth tips have definitely become more of a personalized accessory in for whatever reason that is. I think it's kind of funny, just as my own personal grief and stuff. I think it's interesting that people have taken this idea of like a mouth tip, and they're like, how can we make it fancy so I can like have it all the time? I find it odd. I don't know.
It all leads back to overcomplicating things. We don't need any of this. Yeah, what is it? What is his name? 3-Tip Gang. I mean, he's totally cool with his plastic mouthpieces, and that's fine. But that's his thing.
I want to see a 3-tip Mason tip. That'd be badass right there. Do you have a price point? Well, let's find out. What are the price point for the mouth tips going to be? Do you have a price point for them yet?
It's gonna be similar to the other ones that are on the market. It's not gonna be like crazy expensive compared to those. Okay. I mean, they're not gonna be like $5, because I can't pay that to make that. Mm-hmm. But they're going to be similar to what the other ones are. And I'm aware of what the other price points on them are. And so, we definitely, again, we're not here to gouge. If I can make this cheap, I'm going to give it at a reasonable price, because this is also something that you don't need. If I made this too expensive, 5 people are going to buy it. So I'm gonna try to make it as affordable as possible.
If we all pitch in, we can all get Doug one, and then he can rock his 3-tip gang with the Mason tips. That's what we could do. Adrian, where can we find you? And I know how much you love my voices that I throw into the show every once in a while.
Absolutely, they're so cringy. If you want to find some sweet hookah content, by sweet I mean garbage fire hookah content, go over to Pipe Dream Hookah. I just dropped a new review on the Alpaca Triforce mix, so that's up. If you want to find me on Instagram or the Twitter, it's _Pipe Dream. And if you want to find me on Facebook, find me on Facebook. My name's Adrian Hunter.
There you go. You can find me at OnlyMattDozen on Twitter. You can find me stalking the Facebook groups as well. I try to be as active as I possibly can. Usually not as active as I wish I could be, but I try to. But yeah, find me on Twitter at OnlyMattDozen. That's where I like to do a lot of communication on as well. I also have an Instagram, though I never pimp it out. It's just Matt Dozen. You can find me on there. The show for the AM Hookah Podcast, you can find us on Twitter at AM_Hookah, Instagram AM Hookah Podcast, and then also on Facebook we have a group and we have a page, AM Hookah. You can do a search for us and you'll find us that way. Join the group, enjoy the page, and all the fun stuff that we have going on. I think that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you so much, Nino, once again for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure and a total blast. Until
ask one quick question, really quick for you guys.
Go right ahead.
Where can we get those sweet shirts that Adrian's wearing? You guys need to make those. Yeah. Oh, you're wearing one too. You guys have to make those available if they're not already. Those things are pretty awesome.
Yeah, they are available, widely available. We don't really pimp them out so much right now.
We need to.
It's still a little bit early, but we do have a Teespring campaign going, and we'll probably put it in the description of this video once it goes live for the rebroadcast. But yeah, you can get them. They're $20. They're pretty cool.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, that's awesome. I might have
lots of colors.
I like the gold.
I like the colors.
I like the gold. Adrian, not so much into the gold. I liked it. But yeah, you can find it on Teespring for sure. Until next time, guys, I think that's going to wrap it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it as always. And until next time, keep on smoking.
Thanks, guys.